I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition. Coming up short for combat readiness, the results of a new study on military units with women and men, the team that is performing far better.
And I'm Peggy Pico with hot weather health tips for people and pets. Also ahead, how Governor Brown's announcement to cut a key provision in a controversial energy bill could impact renewable energy use in San Diego.
You know, we have kind of been saddled with a one-trick pony in treating substance abuse in this country for a long time.
The long road to recovery for addicts, the key change that may improve treatment in California. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. A late summer heat wave left San Diego sizzling today. Excessive heat may have cities breaking weather records from Oceanside down to Poway. Chula Vista and Vista set new records yesterday dating back to 1990. Now, the hot weather pushed folks to appliance stores looking for relief. Steve Perez is the manager of the Fenton Parkway Lowe's. He says all air conditioning products and fans are sold out, and they're working to restock shelves.
Our customers have been very understanding. I think everybody understands there's a big demand right now. And, you know, we do have the option of ordering online, so we've been able to accommodate a lot of customers that way also, too.
Some people couldn't afford to buy an air conditioner, so they sought relief at the county cool zones. 115 locations, including libraries, open to seniors and anyone else trying to beat the heat.
People take advantage of the library being a cool zone, people that don't have the opportunity to have AC in their own homes with the outrageous temperatures right now here in Southern California.
Cool zones are typically found in the hottest parts of San Diego County. Too hot for school, the heat prompted teachers in Coronado Unified to end classes by 12:30 this afternoon. The district superintendent says many classrooms didn't have air conditioning, often producing extreme unhealthy temperatures. A different picture at San Diego Unified, where classes were not shortened. Teachers were advised to modify plans and limit outdoor activities. There are beach hazards for people trying to beat the heat by the coast. The remnants of Tropical Storm Linda caused high surf and strong rip currents today. Novice swimmers are advised to stay out of the water. At least one surfer's board broke after trying to catch a wave.
Had a little trouble coming in on the inside here because the tide's high and so the waves are breaking right on shore. And so my board just, I guess, hit the seafloor pretty hard and it snapped.
A high surf advisory remains in effect until tomorrow night. Now, we may see some relief from the heat this weekend. There are still showers in the forecast, though. Looking at 80s by the coast, 90s and 80s for the Inland Valley. Thunder and lightning possible in the mountain areas with temperatures mostly in the low 80s and triple digits continuing in the desert. Peggy Pico takes a look now at how you, your family, and pet can stay healthy in the heat.
Serious health problems and heat-related deaths don't require triple-digit temperatures. Here with some practical ways to avoid heat illness are Dr. Seon Thihalo Lee Paven, who goes by Dr. T with County Public Health, and veterinarian Dr. Leslie Scalina with the San Diego Humane Society. And Dr. T, what are some signs of heat sickness and exhaustion?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, what you see is you'll see people really sweating profusely, heavy sweating, being weak, getting cold, clammy, pale, and start having a fast heartbeat.
And that's when the body temperature is climbing. When does it turn into something life-threatening, let's say like a heat stroke?
Yeah, and so we want to prevent it before it gets to this heat stroke. And what you see then is your internal body temperature really rises to 104, 106 even, and then they will stop sweating because the body won't be able to compensate anymore. And at that point, they'll have really hot and dry skin and even faster pulse.
So what should you do? Let's start with the when it comes to heat exhaustion. What should you do if you're experiencing those symptoms or see someone else who is?
Sure. Yeah, you want to take them and you want to lie them down immediately in a cool place. Fan them, turn on the air conditioner, give them fluids to get them hydrated, and all in hopes to prevent them from progressing to a heat stroke. You want to also consult their medical provider.
Okay, so you're trying to cool their temperature down with some water, cool water, and things like that. What about heat stroke, though? It's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, heat stroke is a 911 emergency. You want to, call 911 as soon as you can, and then while you're waiting for the ambulance or paramedics to arrive, then you really want to take some necessary steps. And same thing, you want to kind of get them into a really cool place. You want to take ice packets and ice and just put it into their armpits and groins, really try to cool that temperature down, fans, air conditioning, all of that. You don't want to give them water at this point, though.
That's the difference.
Yes, that is the main difference.
I see. Dr. Scalina, animals are also at risk of heat illness. I know earlier this week a dog actually died of heat stroke while hiking on Coles Mountain. What are the signs of heat exhaustion in pets?
So there are some similarities with people. The signs of heat stress would be lethargy, weakness. With dogs, they pant. That's how they cool themselves. They don't sweat like we do. So excessive panting, bright red or bright pink gums, bright pink tongue. The weakness and lethargy would be signs of
so they'd be
stress.
looking
Yes.
kind of down and tired and
Yes.
things like that. What about besides never leaving your pet in a car, of course, unattended? Right. We know that even in the shade. What are some other ways you would could protect your pet during these hot days?
Make sure that they have access to find the most comfortable spot. So make sure that there is, if they're in the home, if there's air conditioning, that's great. If there's not, make sure that it's well ventilated. Make sure that they have access to cool water, make sure that there is ventilation in the home.
Right, and I know that tip-proof water is important. You don't want them to be able to knock it over and things like that, and shade all day if they are left where they can't get anything. Let me ask you this, Dr. T. How about for people? So we're talking about some things you can do for animals and pets. What about people that are high risk, for instance, babies, children, seniors, the disabled? What's the best way to protect against the heat?
Yeah, and many of the same rules that apply to pets, or the common sense logic applies to humans, right? You want to try to avoid as much as possible getting out there into the hot weather. You want to stay inside as much as possible. If you have to be outside, of course, you want to wear loose fitting clothing. You want to definitely be hydrated either way, and you want to take multiple breaks, stay in the shade as much as possible. And then the county does offer cool zones, and so we have over 115 sites which are free to attend, and you can find out on coolzones.org or by calling 211 where the closest cool zone is to you, and you can go, and these are usually public libraries or community health centers, things like that.
So get to air conditioning.
Exactly. Get to air conditioning and cool that core body temperature.
All right. We have a lot more on our website, especially where to find the cool zones at kpbs.org. Dr. Thihalo Lipavan and Dr. Scalina, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Status upgraded for El Nino. Forecasters say it may be a monster weather system, but it's not packing the winds needed to break records. This shows another look at the system compared to the last massive El Nino from 1997. Many people are hoping this year's system will be a drought buster. Heading to Governor Jerry Brown's desk now, a bill that changes the state's definition of racial profiling. San Diego Assemblywoman Shirley Weber authored the bill. The measure calls on officers to collect race, gender, and sexual orientation data during traffic stops and other interactions. Weber says the bill is needed after the deaths of unarmed black men by police around the nation. High hopes for women who want to take on combat roles. We're getting our first look at the results of an experiment reviewing combat training at Camp Pendleton and around the nation. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says the challenges are mixed gender units showed up in training.
A much anticipated study by the Marine Corps found all male units performed more effectively than units that included women. All male units performed better on 69% of the tasks. They were more accurate firing weapons and engaged in combat exercises more quickly than units that included women. Women were plagued by injury. Few were able to complete the full 9 months of drills. It was a far cry from the confidence on display when KPBS visited the Marines at Camp Pendleton.
I think for the males, they kind of expected us to be, the moms or the sisters, kind of take care of us. But now, they're like, okay, we're Marine, you're Marine, let's just get the job done.
Critics say women came into the exercise with far less experience than their male counterparts. The study comes as all branches of the service are complying with the U.S. Secretary of Defense mandate to either open up all combat roles to women or explain why those roles should remain closed. Recently, 2 women were able to complete the grueling Army Ranger training. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
San Diego may be getting a new high-speed internet service called Google Fiber. Mayor Kevin Faulkner says the city has partnered with Google to explore the possibility. He announced the plan in Barrio Logan, saying he wants to bridge the city's digital divide.
We have the opportunity to build the 21st century infrastructure. It will strengthen our local economy when we work together and collaborate. And of course, it will spread more opportunity to every single neighborhood in San Diego.
Google says it's 40 times faster than average broadband speeds. The city is working to determine whether the fiber optic network can be installed citywide without creating too many disruptions. Little has changed in drug and alcohol recovery since the advent of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, doctors are hailing a change they say could take treatment out of the hands of amateurs. KPBS reporter Megan Burks brings us this report.
This is the empty lot right here that used to have apartments and houses on it. The last apartment was abandoned and we used to always use there.
How often?
Almost every day.
Susan Ireland moved to Imperial County from San Bernardino 11 years ago to escape an abusive relationship, a painful custody battle, and a commanding heroin addiction. But the move was only the beginning of a long and windy road to recovery. Back then, heroin and meth trafficking were picking up there. The border-adjacent county was seeing the beginning of an epidemic, one officials say is making a comeback today.
It was easy access. I had a vehicle. I could drive to Mexicali or here to El Centro and pick up the drug easier.
Ireland spiraled, got well, and spiraled again over the next few years. The cycle made its last round when Child Protective Services stepped in.
They were going to adopt the young ones out. I overdosed on heroin and I was staying in a motel, and the guy that worked at the motel found me, raped me, and called the cops. And I woke up in the hospital 2 weeks later, clean and sober, pregnant. And that's why I'm clean and sober today.
The pregnancy and her legal trouble pushed her into parenting classes through the county's Behavioral Health Services Department, and that introduced her to a psychologist and group therapy. Michael Horn heads behavioral health in Imperial County. He says Ireland's indirect path to addiction treatment is common.
We get them into the prison system. We get them into the courts. We get them in the child welfare system. But they don't necessarily ever end up over in our system seeking substance abuse treatment.
Horn says that could soon change. California is the first state to opt into a Medicaid pilot that will allow health providers more flexibility in billing for substance abuse treatment. Historically, Medicaid, or Medi-Cal here in California, has largely only reimbursed counties for group therapy. Horn says better coverage could mainstream individual therapy, residential treatment, and medication for people with substance use disorders.
The overall goal is to finally get into modern times with the treatment of substance abuse. You know, we have kind of been saddled with a one-trick pony in treating substance abuse in this country for a long time.
And even support for that has been scant. Around 2010, the county ended most of its group sessions because Medi-Cal wasn't paying enough to cover overhead costs. It's a trend that's happening nationally. From 2003 to 2013, the number of state and local facilities treating substance abuse dropped 25%, while the number of for-profit facilities grew 34%. Zoom into Imperial County, and something a little different happened. County-supported centers closed their doors and outpatient services dwindled. But in a county known for low incomes and high unemployment rates, it wasn't for-profit centers that stepped in. It was churches.
This is where they, in the morning, they do their Bible study. They get in here and they have their little devotion. And they have a little Bible study right here.
Luis Barajas is a supervisor at the faith-based recovery home Turning Point in nearby Holtville. He was addicted to meth for 35 years before a court ordered him to Turning Point. Now he shares the scripture that helped him sober up.
To live right correctly, not to have to be dependent on that addiction, to be able to focus on God and let Him lead me through my life. Before it was the drugs leading me through everything I went through. Turning
Point is one of 7 homes in the area run by religious groups. Barajas says about 1,000 men come through his doors each year, about half because of court orders. Barajas doesn't have data on how many of them stay clean, but says there's no better way to help addicts.
I had a psychiatrist told me one year, how many years have you been, go to college to learn how to do this? And I told him I've never been to college. And I asked him, how many years have you been an addict? He says, I never in. So how do you know how that addict's feeling? How can you tell what that addict's going through? I know what he's going through because I've been down that same road he has.
Julie Myers is a San Diego-based psychologist specializing in addiction. She points out that there's no conclusive data showing faith-based homes like Turning Point or other self-help methods work. One reason is a lot of those programs lack follow-up, or they're altogether anonymous.
Most of my patients, probably 70% who are coming in with an addiction problem, have had multiple treatment failures. So they almost all have been in a 12-step model. Either they've just gone to AA themselves or they've gone to a rehab that's been 12-step.
Myers says to treat addiction, you have to get at the underlying mental health conditions driving the behavior. Susan Ireland says the personal insight she gained in therapy was instrumental in her recovery.
I wanted to know why I was feeling that way. I wanted to know why I felt everybody was seeing me the way that I thought they were. In all reality, it was just myself.
Behavioral health director Michael Horn says he doesn't plan to block the paths to recovery laid by religious groups and former users. He just hopes the new funding will open a few more.
She helps us with facilitating our Spanish individuals.
Ireland says it was the combination of professional treatment and various groups that got her clean and keep her clean today. She's working through the 12 steps a second time. This interview is step 5.
I have a recovery calendar on my phone of how many days clean and sober, minutes, and everything. So I have 7 years, 88 months, 383 weeks, 2,683 days, 64,404 hours clean and sober. And I carry this with me every day.
Megan Burks, KPBS News.
That report made possible by the California Health Journalism Fellowship at USC's Annenberg School of Journalism. We first told you about the blow that strikes at the heart of Governor Brown's climate change agenda. Now Peggy Pico explains what may be next for his clean energy proposal.
Referred to as the 50-50-50 plan, Senate Bill 350 originally called for a 50% of reduction of petroleum use in vehicles and 50% reduced energy use by buildings and an increase in renewable portfolio standards in the next 15 years. But Governor Brown and Democratic leaders said late yesterday they dropped the proposal to cut petroleum use by half.
What we did do in this bill, however, is not cave in to the last-minute effort by Big Oil to strip the power of the Air Resources Board to enforce AB 32 and the climate action regime that California has so boldly articulated.
Joining me with what the change means for renewable energy and standards in San Diego are my guests, Nicole Kapritz, Executive Director of Climate Action Campaign, and Sean Carafin, Executive Director of Policy and Economic Research at San Diego's Chamber of Commerce. And Nicole, why did you support and why do you support SB 350?
Well, it's a historic measure. It positions California to be the lead, not only in the nation, but also worldwide. And frankly, it is what it's going to take to protect our quality of life.
And Sean, why did the San Diego Chamber oppose SB 350?
Well, we definitely support the ideas involved with it. The problem is that there are no details. It doesn't say how we're going to get to these reductions, and if you do it incorrectly, it could be very costly. That said, if you do it correctly and you look for investing in an industry that could be a leader throughout the country, it could be really good economically for us. But that's definitely not laid out in the legislation as is.
No, you were watching this yesterday. What's your reaction, Sean, to stripping the bill of the gasoline reduction targets?
You know, when we were up in Sacramento in March, we had an opportunity, the Chamber had an opportunity to meet with the Senate President Pro Tem, and we discussed with him the concern about the way this is really going to hit people at the gas pump, in their wallets. And I think his willingness to drop this from the bill shows that he was listening and he's trying to make the bill better.
And Nicole, do you think the bill has any teeth left now that the oil target has been removed?
Absolutely. We still have two of the main pillars of the bill remaining. So we still are going to have California, hopefully, if it passes, have 50% clean energy on our electricity grid. And we're going to be doubling the efficiency of new buildings, existing buildings, and other industrial operations.
Do you expect with these revisions that it might have a better chance at passing?
It's looking good, looking really good.
Okay, positive there, Sean. Now, what would it take for the Chamber to support legislation to boost renewable energy production and building energy efficiency over the next 15 years? What's the right way to do that?
You know, the specifics, we need to allow individual cities, individual areas, counties to come up with their own strategies to do it at the least cost to their ratepayers. It's pretty simple.
So you mean strategies for businesses, for what about automobiles?
All of the above. I mean, we need to invest in an infrastructure for electric vehicles that will allow a fleet across the state, allow you to take a road trip rather than just going to work 10 miles away, and make sure that we don't put all of our eggs into one basket, because people who aren't rich maybe can't afford an electric vehicle. We need to make sure that the appropriate people are paying for it and that the benefit is real.
All right, Sean Carafin and Nicole Kapritz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fossils dating back to the Ice Age more than 50,000 years ago were recently discovered at a construction site in Carlsbad. We went to the fossil lab at the Natural History Museum in Balboa Park, where many of these prehistoric bones are dusted off and stored.
This fossil is about 75 million years old.
How do you know that?
It says right there. No, that's actually, the age of this is based on the rocks that the fossils are found in.
Many a rock have been turned over at construction sites all around San Diego County. The Fossil Mysteries exhibit at the Natural History Museum has some of those recovered bones on display. The museum's lab is where they spend countless hours chipping away the dirt to uncover the mystery.
And this material that Chris is removing is a claystone sandstone material that has buried and contains the remains of a fossil horse.
Tom Demaray is curator of paleontology at the Nat. The most recent discovery was at the Quarry Creek housing development in Carlsbad, where the skull from a second prehistoric bison, much larger than today's buffalo, was unearthed by construction crews.
About 13 feet long, that animal would have been as a full-grown adult. The horn span 4 to 6 feet.
Demaray says San Diego had lots of exotic animals roaming the land during the Ice Age, and studying the bones and climate may someday help us understand why they died off.
But these animals were part of the native biological diversity: mammoths, mastodons, horses, camels, giant ground sloths, tapirs. Really an exotic assemblage of organisms that all became extinct at the end of the last ice age, only 10,000 years ago.
Over the years, the museum has collected more than 1,000 fossils from San Diego construction sites. Paleontologists like Demaray are actually paid to collaborate with construction crews on digs all around the county. This allows the construction work to continue on site, but away from any fossils discovered. The Haunted Hotel has been a Halloween tradition in San Diego for decades. It's now looking to expand with new attractions that run all year long. KPBS arts reporter Beth Agamando checks into the Great Room Escape.
There's a saying, hell is an eternity trapped in a room with your friends, so I thought we would try that out for an hour and see what happens.
Okay, you guys, come with me.
Right now we are at the Great Room Escape. It is a game that we lock you in a room for 1 hour and you have to figure out clues and puzzles in order to get your way out.
Have fun, you guys. Good luck.
Recently, the Haunted Hotel expanded its attraction to include the Great Room Escape, which is more of an interactive game than a conventional haunt. Participants can choose from Houdini's Hidden Workshop or the Lab.
It's fun. It's a great zombie atmosphere, but it's not scary at all.
Well, at first I was really scared and I was like holding on to them because I was like, there's a zombie right next to us. But then as I kept going, it wasn't as scary. It was kind of fun, like finding the different clues.
There were a couple of people who were a little freaked out about it. Doreen was a little worried, but that's okay. She worked up her bravery.
The zombie is locked to a box on a chain. During the hour, the chain will get a little bit longer.
Oh, it was quite an adventure. We got sent into a room, and there was a zombie on a chain, and it was very scary. And we had to find the cure, which we did, but then we couldn't escape the room.
Emma Casey was there with friends for her birthday, but they had to work with strangers to try and solve all the puzzles and clues in the lab.
It's kind of, if you don't work together as a team, you're probably not going to get out.
The Lab Room Escape is open through September, and then the space reverts back to the Haunted Hotel for the Halloween season.
We were so close!
But Houdini's Hidden Workshop will remain open, and a third room will be added in 2016, so you can check in for Halloween fun all year long. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find all our stories at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.